Hey everyone, Mark Snow with SG Human Performance. I had an email came from me from somebody that came to one of the FMS Level 1 workshops and was learning the Brettzel progression that I taught there. And they wanted to see a video of the progressions so they kind of had an idea of how it went. So I'm going to video and kind of show the progressions that we show here at SG Human Performance and what I like to teach at the FMS workshops. This progression was developed by Jeff O'Connor, so if you have any questions about that, you would look up Jeff O'Connor. He's just a fantastic man. He knows everything there is about functional movement and strength. He's the one that developed this, not me. I want to make sure I give him the credit that credit is due. But the nice thing about this progression, it makes people earn. Instead of jumping into the Brettzel progression, where maybe they're not ready for it, it lets them progress through this progression and figure out if there's any little speed bumps along the way. Now, what I first and foremost want to do is has your client been able to get into a half kneeling hip flexor stretch with no issues whatsoever? If they can't set up in a half kneeling hip flexor stretch, they shouldn't be doing this Brettzel progression. If someone cannot get into a rib grab, rib pull, thoracic rotation with reach position and have problems with that, or they're really stuck there, then the Brettzel progression is just not for them at this time. There's a progression for everybody. They have to kind of qualify to earn the right to do the Brettzel. So, and as you can see in the FMS, it's not the Brettzel progressions are not shown until the inline lunge progressions are in there. So it's an advanced progression as you go along. So, with that in mind, here's the progression that we take them through. We get them just lying down on their stomach in this position, and let them be forehead and hands, and this is basically their crocodile breath position. From here, we want to bring the leg up, and we want it to be in a 90-degree or past 90 degrees hip position from here. So we don't want basically the knee to be below, but we want the knee to be above the hip crease. And then basically in this position right here, they're going to lengthen and try to take that leg as far away from their hip as they can. So like Pavel says, you're trying to pull the hip kind of out of the socket a little bit. And when I first started this progression, I was doing Bretzels all the time, and then Jeff O'Connor took me through here, and this is just where I stayed for a couple weeks, just crocodile breathing in this position and kind of wedge my hip down and be long here, because this can be a very tight position for some people. Now from this position here, the next progression would be, if they have no issues or problems here, or basically they've gotten to the point where this is no longer challenging for them, is they're going to take their right hand and grab the opposite leg in this position. Now, don't grab the toe. I prefer to grab the ankle in this position. So in this position here, now I'm feeling a little bit more of a quad stretch, a little hip flexor stretch on this leg here, but I'm still trying to keep this knee high and in position and long while I'm getting in this position. A couple things I can do here is I can do a little contract, relax. Push against the hand, relax. I don't necessarily like to take the heel to the butt, but you can do a little bow and arrow here. So this is something Jeff taught me, is you basically just can lift the hip up off the ground. As you can see, I'm just pulling the bow back in the bow and arrow. And that usually helps to kind of get the hip to relax. Now this spot right here might be the progression in itself. They're just going to stay right here, and then they're going to do the other side. The next step is to walk the opposite hand down to the bent leg knee. And then just get comfortable in this position. Can they crocodile breathe in this position and go from there? Now the next thing is I'm going to start to rotate to my back into the Brettzel position, but I'm going to stack up my hips. The one thing I don't necessarily like to do, and this is just something Jeff taught me, is if I start to rotate back and trying to keep this knee on the ground, I might be getting a little bit of lumbar rotation there. I don't necessarily want to do that. So as I rotate back, I'm going to stack these hips on top of each other so that if there's a laser that goes right through this hip, it goes right through the other one in the front. So, and then I want this one to be here. The hand can be on top, the hand can be underneath. We want to make sure the head is in a comfortable position. And now we're looking for the knee to be above hip level, and we're looking for the bottom knee, hip, shoulder, and ear is in a straight line. Okay? So you don't want to necessarily see people get in a position and their hips are creased in that position. They have to have the hip lined up in the appropriate manner. So, set up in position. I earned my right to be here. So from here to here to here, and then I stack up. I can even do a little bow and arrow here as well. Try to work that leg back a little bit. And then I check and do the other side. That's the Brettzel progression. It's a fantastic progression. Play around with it. If someone's an active straight leg raise 1-1, they're not going to be able to get in this position. Someone is a shoulder mobility 1-2, they're not going to be able to get this in this progression into the Brettzel position, but they may be able to play with the beginning progressions a little bit. Make sure you clear rib pull, you clear half kneeling hip flexor stretch before you start getting kind of dynamic with your stretches and going into the Brettzel progression. All right, have a good one.